Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can chart moving averages in Excel. So for today's video I'm going to use data from Costco. So every month Costco releases its how it did for the past month, so it's comparable sales growth rate. And it has a pretty impressive streak where, their total company comparable sales are usually 10% or more. And so I'm going to chart this out. I've got the data downloaded on here, so as you can see, it's been more than 10% going back to June 2020. And so if I were to map this out, I go to Insert, select the normal line chart, and so we can see that there's been some very big dips and very big increases depending on which period you're looking for. This is a period where there was lockdowns, and this was the comparable the following year when there was a recovery by then. So in some cases like this, you may want to smooth some of these numbers out using a moving average. So I'm going to show you a couple ways you can do that. One's the manual way, and one's the much quicker way. So I'll start with the quicker way and the longer way to sort of prove it out. So in Excel, it's really simple to add a trend line. We just right click on this chart and add a trend line. So by default, it's just going to show you generally the linear trend line for the entire series, but you can also select the option for a moving average here. And the default is 2 periods, but I can easily adjust this. Let's say I want the trailing 6 months. That's my 6-month average. So that tells me, it's a bit of a smoother line. It's less erratic. And I can prove this out by calculating the 6-month moving average here. So 6-month moving average. And all I really need to do is go down 6 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just take the average of the past 6 months. If I copy this down, I've got my 6-month average for each and every month. And so I can check this easily to see if this is correct, to prove this out. And I'm just going to extend this chart like so. And you can see now it covers over that trend line that I created. So it's exactly the same thing. So this shows you that you can either do it the manual way of doing this average and figuring out where to start, or you can just right click and use the trend line that Excel has for you here. But either way, it's a pretty simple process. I'm going to control Z out of here so I get back to where I was. So with this trend line, it makes it a lot easier to adjust it based on what you need. So if you ever want to change it, you can click on that, go to this 3 bars here, and just change the average and adjust it accordingly. So now you can see that the average is a lot more gradual than if you were to do it if you were to just look at the individual months. And while we're here, another thing I'm gonna show you a couple ways we can make this chart look a little better, and that's first off by moving these labels. So I can format access, put the labels low. What I could also do is, let's say, because this is first needs a title, so let's say comparable growth rate, and I've got a logo of Costco's saved on my computer. So what I can do now is also use that as a background for this chart. And to do that, what I want to do is go to the fill option here, and there's an option to select a picture or a texture fill. Now if I click on that, automatically it loads my Costco image in here, and that's because I had previously used this. So if you go to Insert, you navigate to the file that you want to use. Now right now this doesn't look too great, and that's because I've got the grid lines in here. So I'm going to View, uncheck the grid lines. Now I see it, but now again it's still not showing up really nicely. Another thing you can do is for this image you can adjust the transparency, so it's a bit more subtle. And now we can still see the data with that nice effect of having the logo behind it. Now another thing we can also do is add some data labels on here. So right click, add labels here, and format them so they're showing above. And we can stretch this out a little bit more so there's a bit more room for them. And for the label options, we can also use a solid fill color. just so they stand out a little bit. So that's just a couple ways that you can make the chart look a little bit better. And so the labels I added to the actual raw month numbers, not the trend line. But as you can see, this is how we can chart not only the month over month or the year over year changes, but also showing you that 6-month trend line. And you can also adjust the look of this trend line as well if you wanted to change the colors of it to maybe stand out, maybe have it black, maybe a bit wider to stand out. So there's a lot of customizations you can apply to make it a bit more obvious where that trend line is. And if the labels are out of the way, obviously you can delete those to make it stand out a bit more. So just wanted to show you a couple things you can do with charts and trend lines and how easy it is to add them in Excel.